Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is Malia. So we are on the last video of what to expect when visiting Medellín Colombia. So I already did 2 other videos on this. First one, I did a whole video just on safety tips because I just had a lot to share for that. And then the second video I had on money and transportation. This video will be on information on phones and like what to do with that, location, on where to stay, and just some extra tips that I had that didn't really fit into any categories will also be in this video, and this will be the last one of what to expect. Any other questions that you guys have, I'm always answering them down below in the comments, so if you just have any other questions, just let me know and I'll reply back to you guys. So yeah, I spent 1 month abroad in Medellín, Colombia, and I was there for Spanish school because I'm on a language journey trying to learn a lot more Spanish, and what's a better place to go than a Spanish speaking country, right? So I went to South America this time. I used to live in Spain for a couple years, but I didn't really do much Spanish, so I decided to save up a little bit of money and go to Colombia for just 1 month, and I enjoyed my time there a lot. It was a great time and I highly recommend it to everyone. I know that a lot of people are very scared to visit Colombia. I feel like a lot of people think of like robberies, drugs. People are just very scared to visit Colombia and South America in general, and I'm here to tell you that I had no problems being a 5'1", 100-pound woman. I had no problems while I was there. So I'm just sharing my tips that worked for me, and I hope that these tips also help you guys. These tips are solely for people that want to visit Colombia or want to visit Medellin. These tips are not for people that are looking to live there or that are living there. You know, all of these tips and advice that I'm giving you guys are just based on my experience there, or just experiences from my friends that I've met there, different thoughts on what to share to you guys. And I got a comment on my last video, and this one guy was saying that I was like it's really nice that I didn't get robbed, but that's like not the case for everyone, blah blah blah. And everyone will have their own situations and experiences, but I just try to not put myself into certain positions in certain places, and I just kind of trust my intuition, and I was fine the whole time there. So I'm not saying that you won't get robbed or bad things won't happen to you, but if you take the safety precautions, I think you will be okay and you will have a great time. So yeah, so this video once again will be on phones, just kind of what to do about the phone situation, location, on where to stay or where to go, and then also once again just extra tips that didn't really fit into any category that I had for these 3 videos. I also did want to mention that I recorded a lot when I was in Medellín, Colombia. I think I have like maybe 9 videos, more or less around there, of all different things that I did. I went paragliding, I went to Guatapé, I went to a coffee farm, I did a cooking class, I tried out different dance classes, I went to a salsa club. I just did so much in my month there, and it was so much fun. So definitely check out my other videos to see what I did, to get some inspiration for your own trip, or just watch travel videos, because I love watching travel videos and like vicariously like living through someone else when they go on a trip. So definitely check out my video. Without further ado, let's hop into the video. Okay, so I'm going to start off with phones. So you're probably like, why are you talking about phones? Like, what do I need to know about a phone? First off, if you are traveling anywhere, not even just Medellín, Colombia, you should always have a second phone with you. You never know if you're going to lose it, if someone's gonna steal it, if you're gonna have any problems. So just bring a second phone just in case. For my 2 years in Spain, I always had my old iPhone with me, and I never once had to take it out or use it. Thank God, honestly. I was so nervous I was gonna get pickpocketed. And then when I went to Colombia, I forgot to bring my old iPhone with me. And I was so nervous that I was gonna get robbed and that someone was gonna steal my phone, because I'm like, phones are expensive. Like, why is my phone as much as my laptop? Why is my phone $1,000? Like, I cannot get that stolen. That is way too much money to be spending on another phone. So my first main tip is to either bring an old phone with you or buy a cheap phone already in your country. Don't buy a cheaper phone once you're in Colombia. That was one of my mistakes. I mean, I did forget my old phone here, but if I would have bought another phone to bring with me, I wish I would have bought it in the United States, because there's a lot of cheaper phones here than phones in Colombia, and that's what I was surprised about. I thought I was gonna get options that ranged from maybe $20 to $100 for a cheaper phone, and the cheapest phone that I could find was $50, which isn't that much. I just know I could have found a cheaper phone in the US. If you don't already have an old phone to use, ask your family if they have an old one you can borrow, ask your friends, and if not, then go to Best Buy or your carrier if you have like T-Mobile, Verizon, whatever you have, and just get a cheaper phone just in case. Just in case. So when I was there, I had my main phone with me, but I also had this cheap little phone here. I don't think I ever charged it. Like, I think I charged it like one time. I couldn't even tell you what phone this is, but I was just glad to have this. I said this in my first video for safety tips on how to keep your phone kind of hidden from people that are trying to rob you or pickpocketers and things like that. So I would take my money belt here, get a money belt. My gosh, this was one of my best purchases that I had for this trip. So I had a money belt here, and I would put my actual phone, my iPhone here. I'd put this one in my money belt. Okay, so it's in there. And then I would wrap this around me. I said this again in my safety tips video, but I would always keep this money belt like kind of hidden in my pants, because my pants are like relatively like big or like straight leg. I don't really wear like tight like skinny jeans or anything like that. So this was able to hide in my pants, my cargo pants, parachute pants, or just my jeans in general, and you couldn't even tell that I was wearing this. So I kept my actual phone in here, and then when there's so much in this bag. And then when I was on like the main street, I was walking around, I was getting my Uber, I kept this phone in my main purse that I would have on me on the street. Because if someone were to rob me, I would give them this phone and they wouldn't even know that I had a second phone in my money belt. Okay, so that's my first tip, and if you really want to keep your phone safe, I highly recommend to do that. Have a second phone, hide your main phone, and just have this one on the bag that you have with you that like people can see. Because if they take this one, they're not going to think that you have a second one on you, you know? So I recommend doing that. Once again, I said this in my safety tips video, but I'm gonna kind of give a little refresh here for those who haven't watched that video. Do not have your phone out on the street. If you need to look for directions, go inside of a mall, a grocery store, a hotel or hostel lobby if it looks safe enough there. I just highly recommend to not use your phone on the main streets, because a lot of people on motorcycles and mopeds will just drive, snatch your phone out of your hand as they're driving, and they're gone forever. So that's like my first main tip, is to have a second phone with you, and do not have your phone out on the main street. If you want more information on this, go to my safety tips video. I go more into depth on that one. I was so nervous that someone was gonna rob me for my phone, and when I got back home, I was like, wow, I did it again. Nothing got stolen from me. And you know what? I really hope in the future I don't get robbed or like pickpocketed or stolen from, because I'm on a really good track right now. I keep going to countries where people are like, you're gonna get robbed, you're gonna get pickpocketed, and I'm like, I'm alive, I made it. So y'all need to calm down, you're fine. SIM cards. Okay, so I was kind of nervous on getting a new SIM card, or like what to do, because I don't know if taking your SIM card like erases all the information on your phone. I know it shouldn't, but I've had problems in the past with SIM cards, so I just don't like to take them out. I kind of just leave that in there until I get a new phone, and then I put a new one in. I actually texted my Airbnb host on what to do for a SIM card, because I wanted to be able to communicate with her while I was on the way to the Airbnb. And so she told me that I could get a SIM card at the airport. That's a really good area to get a SIM card, because you know it's gonna work in that country if you're already in the airport there. Yeah, I first would recommend to get a SIM card at the airport, but if they're closed or you're just kind of confused on what to do, then I would get an eSIM. And that's what I did, because I was so nervous to get a new SIM card that I was like, you know what, I've heard of Olafly before, so let me look up Olafly and kind of like see what this eSIM is. This sounds sponsored and it's not, but Olafly, you should sponsor me in the future, because I really like you guys. I've used you like multiple times now, and I think I may have looked up on like TikTok or just on Google, like if there's like a online SIM card to get that you don't have to like put a physical one in your phone, you can just kind of connect it to your phone already. And so I kind of looked that up online, and Olafly came up, and there was a lot of good reviews. I love them. It was so easy to figure out. I think I maybe paid $20 for either 5 days or for a week to use for that eSIM with Olafly, and it was unlimited data the whole time. It was so easy to connect and like hook up to my phone. When I travel to other countries, I may just keep using Olafly because it was just so easy to use. I don't know any of the other companies that have eSIM cards, but use Olafly. My gosh, like they kind of saved me, because as soon as I hooked up my eSIM to my phone, I was able to message my Airbnb host. I was able to contact my taxi driver because I set up an airport transfer from the airport to my Airbnb. So I was able to call him and I had no issues. Like if I did not have that eSIM, I would have been stuck in that airport crying all night. I probably would have taken a random taxi. And if you saw my other videos, you know I don't take no taxis. So, oh my God, you guys, I forgot my jewelry today. I feel so bare. This is embarrassing. Oh well. But yeah, definitely either get a SIM card at the airport or get an eSIM like I did. And if you don't get the SIM card at the airport and you still would rather have a physical one, usually they have them at malls, sometimes grocery stores. I didn't see any at grocery stores in Colombia, but I know in other countries they do. When I ended up going to get this phone, I just went to one of the phone carriers there. So I went to Claro. I think it was Claro is what I went to. And so I could have bought a SIM card from Poblado if I wanted it for my main phone here, but I was fine with the eSIM and it worked perfectly. So highly recommend that. That is really all I have on phones. If you guys have any more questions or wanted me to go more in depth about anything I just talked about, just let me know in the comments below. But yeah, really, there's really not much on phones. I put most of my information on the safety tips, so I just wanted to briefly go over that again and just give a couple extra tips for you guys. But yeah, my next section that we'll be talking about is where to stay in Medellín, Colombia. So when I was doing my own research and I would be watching YouTube videos or reading blogs or articles, I noticed that everyone recommended to stay in Poblado. Now, Poblado is a great area. It's really nice, actually really safe as well. My Spanish school was actually located in Poblado. And once I realized that, I was like, you know what? I don't want to stay in Poblado and have my school there. I'm already going to be spending 4 hours a day at my Spanish school in Poblado. And, you know, after class, I would be walking around, exploring the area. So I didn't want to also stay there. I kind of wanted to venture out into other areas. But let me first talk about Poblado. Gringolandia. Like I said, Poblado is a very nice and safe area, but it's so touristy. Like I like to immerse myself into cultures but also be safe as well. And you don't just have to stay in Poblado the whole time. And I feel that a lot of people that I met that stayed in Poblado, they only explored Poblado. They never went to any other types of areas. It's very similar to when I lived in Spain. If my friends that lived in the center city, they never ventured outside of the center city. And I'm like, you guys have to still explore other areas of the city, of the town, or wherever you're staying. And so a lot of people will call Poblado Gringolandia because it's mostly all tourists that stay there. And even if you're not a tourist that stay there, then you're pretty wealthy, I would say, if you live in Poblado, but it doesn't seem very Medellín. It just seems very touristy, very like gentrified, I guess you could say. And yeah, I don't know. I just personally wouldn't stay there. Definitely go visit it. There's a lot of good spots over there, but I would just try to stay in a different area. With that being said, with a lot of tourists staying there, there is a lot more English spoken in Poblado. So if you're a lot more comfortable with speaking English or you don't have a very high level of Spanish, then maybe staying in Poblado is a better area for you. There's a lot of upscale restaurants over there, but it's just expensive. It's like in my area that I was staying, the prices were like day and night with it. I'm like, why is Poblado so expensive? I'm like, I'm eating out at a restaurant. Why are these close to prices that I have to pay in the US to get a lunch? You know, I'm like, it should not be this much to get an empanada. Because it's a very touristy area, there's also a lot of very like upscale restaurants and a lot more expensive restaurants, bars, clubs, cafes, just in general over there. And I just did not want to really be paying those prices because I'm like, I'm in Colombia, it should be a lot more affordable for me. It's definitely just a little pricey, but also you can just tell how nice everything is. So kind of like an opportunity cost with that one. The restaurants were really good, cafes were good, bars, club, everything there was good. Like nothing was bad. It's just that it's expensive, and you could go to other areas, other towns in Medellin or close by Poblado, still get a really good experience but not pay as much. Maybe pay like half the cost that you would in Poblado. Also, saying that it's very touristy in Poblado, you get a lot of the digital nomad remote workers there. And here's the thing, I have nothing against digital nomad people. I think they're really cool. Every time I meet them, I'm like, wow, I want to be like you. I want to have a remote job like you. But I've noticed that a lot of them will kind of just stay in their bubble. So even though they left the United States and now they're in Colombia, like living in Colombia, they will still only surround themselves with people from the United States and not only speak English. And I'm like, that kind of defeats the whole purpose on like moving to a new country. Hey, honestly, I'm a hypocrite because that's exactly what I did in Spain, and I didn't really branch out to meeting Spanish people or just meeting other people in general. I did have friends from other countries. They weren't my main friends or like in my main friend groups. And now that I'm older and I'm trying to immerse myself more in cultures while I'm visiting other countries, it's kind of, I don't want to say embarrassing to do that, but it's like, kind of branch out, get to know the culture, get to know the people, get to know the locals that actually live here. You can learn so much from them. They probably have so much good advice to share, so many good stories to tell you. And the people, the locals there are extremely friendly. I met a lot of locals from Medellin when I would go to these language exchanges, and I really enjoyed my time to meet these people. And when I would only stay in my little US American bubble, it's like I don't get the full experience of being in Colombia. So definitely just kind of branch out if you're going to stay in Poblado. Try to definitely meet Spanish speaking people. Try to meet Colombian people. Don't just stay with the Americans from the United States is my main tip if you're gonna be there. If you want a place to stay that has a mix of locals and tourists, Laureles. Oh my gosh, that is where I stayed, and I absolutely love that area. I was so happy that I chose Laureles over Poblado once I kept going to school back and forth, because seeing Poblado, I was like, okay, like this is nice. I like my school's over here, so I can kind of get like a mix of both. But every time I would go back to Laureles, I'm like, oh, it's just so nice over here, because you still have like a fun social time, and like there's lots of bars and restaurants and so many things to do over there, especially on Calle 70. Is it Calle? What is it? Calle 70, or like what the fuck is it? What is it in English? Street 70. Oh my gosh. Calle 70 or like La 70. That main strip has so many like restaurants and bars, and like it's always popping over there. So it's still a really social area, and I just saw like a lot more locals over there. And there's still a lot of like, you know, hotels, hostels, Airbnbs and stuff like that. But it was nice. It just felt like I was more in Medellin being in Laureles. It felt as if I wasn't just in the most touristy area. I really like being in Laureles, and also I was like a 5-minute walk from the stadium, which was really cool. I did go to one football game while I was there. Not American football. I don't like American football. Soccer game, but I just like football game while I was there. And so there's always people watching the games. They're so hyped up, they're so excited. Also, where my Airbnb was located, it was a couple streets behind La 70, and it felt so quiet right there. It's like I would walk maybe 5 minutes, not even, to La 70, and it's buzzing, it's loud, it's fun. But if I go back to my Airbnb, it's so calm and it's nice, and I'm like, this is perfect, because if I want to be social, I can, but if I want to relax and just, you know, have my time to myself, I can do that without being bothered. So that was a perfect little place. I'm gonna try to leave the link for my Airbnb in the description below. If it doesn't work, let me know. So my Airbnb host had a different house before this new one that she bought that I stayed in, because I actually originally booked with the old house that I was supposed to be in, and that was supposed to be on La Setenta, like on that street. And there were a lot of reviews that complained about the noise. They were like, you know, it's a great place to stay. The host was amazing. She is amazing. She's a great host. But it's just so loud at night, but also like I chose to stay in like a busy spot in Laureles. I don't really care about noise when I sleep because I can sleep through almost anything, which I don't know if that's good or bad, but it doesn't matter. I was prepared to have like kind of late nights where I was really annoyed of like the noise around me. I don't know, I just expected to be distracted by all of this noise around me. And so when my Airbnb host told me she actually bought a new house and she changed the location and all of that stuff, and I got there, I was like, oh, this is nice. This is gonna be nice. I was actually very happy that it was kind of a new space just because of how calm it was. It felt like I was in a residential area a little bit, and like I said, a couple streets over, it's kind of like a buzzing social spot. So I just thought it was a great place. They had a lot of good restaurants and bars over there, like I said, a lot of good street vendors. I got so many empanadas, buñuelos, arepas, like so much stuff nearby, a lot of good cafes as well over there. I just thought it was a perfect location. Like, if I do go back to Medellin, I think I will stay in Laureles or I'll go to Envigado, which I'll talk about in a second here. I was also nearby so many grocery stores, supermarkets. Like, I had no issues finding anything. I would go to like 3 or 4 different supermarkets that were near me. I never felt unsafe at all walking alone by myself over there. Very nice people in the area. Never had any issues, like I said. Been recommending it to everyone that wants to visit Medellin. Everyone tells them to stay in Poblado, and not that Poblado is not a bad choice. I just feel like Laureles is just a better choice. And like I said, I'm biased for sure, but I think I'm correct. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good areas to stay in, but I would just 150 million% recommend to stay in Laureles. So do it, just do it. Now, my last recommendation on where to stay in Medellin is Envigado. So if you want something even maybe less touristy and just a lot more quiet and even more calm, Envigado is a perfect location to stay. I went to Envigado a few times and it was just a really nice residential, quiet, kind of slow down pace of Medellin. And every time I was driving around there, I'm like, oh, this is just so nice. So like I just said, if I didn't stay in Laureles, I probably would think about staying in Envigado. Just being in Laureles, things were just closer, so I decided to stay for that location. But I think Envigado is a great choice to stay in, especially if you want something a little bit more quiet and calm. And there's still restaurants, bars, and breweries to go to over there. That's all I'm going to speak on that because I didn't do that much over there. I would either just go to my friend's apartment or just kind of walk around that area. They have that super bowling place over there, and that was really fun. If you don't end up staying in Envigado, definitely still go visit it because it's a great area to see, and it's just like, it's like a breath of fresh air. I don't know, that's how I just think of it as. But yeah, those are the 3 locations that I wanted to talk about. I am not knowledgeable enough to share more information on other areas or towns in Medellin, and those were the 3 that I researched the most about. And so I just wanted to share my experience with that. Definitely biased about Laureles, but you know, what are you gonna do about it? If you have any more questions on Laureles, definitely just let me know in the comments below. I can definitely answer a lot more on that. I did spend a lot of time in Poblado, so I can answer questions on that. Envigado, I don't have that much information on. If you have something very general to ask about Envigado, I could probably answer it. But if not, just make sure to always do extra research and reading articles and blog posts, watching YouTube videos, all that you can to prepare yourself the most, because I think location is a very important part on traveling, and you usually want a good mix of being close to things. So being close to restaurants, bars, like the ocean if you're going to like a tropical place, but also you want to keep in mind of safety, and I would say safety always comes first. So just kind of have a good mix of all of that and just see like what would be best for you. But make sure to just do a lot of research and you'll be fine. But my top pick is Laureles, and I'm going to stop on there because I said that 50 times at this point. So, yes. Oh, in this video, I also wanted to talk about the weather because it's perfect. It is. I've never felt more perfect weather than in Colombia. I'm from the suburbs of Chicago, it's cold. Like it's cold. The summer, absolutely beautiful, but it's cold here. So I ended up moving to Florida for college. It's hot. I love hot weather. I like humidity. I'm fine with it, but it's hot. I moved to Madrid, Spain. It was definitely a good middle ground in between like Chicago and like Tampa, Florida. But Colombia, Medellín, Colombia, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. The weather is beautiful, it looks beautiful, you get the mountains, but you get, oh, like the biodiversity in Colombia is actually insane. And I've only been to Medellín. I can't even imagine what it looks like in so many different cities in Colombia. I'm gonna say Medellín, Colombia, because I'm not sure if this is for all of Colombia, but Medellín, Colombia is known for their eternal spring. So if you think, like literally if spring weather was forever, that's Medellín, Colombia. And it's so nice. I usually would wear pants every day. I don't think I ever wore shorts, but I was fine in pants and like a t-shirt or a tank top. And I was, oh, I wish I could live there because the weather is just so beautiful. But yeah, it was absolutely beautiful when I visited, but I also visited during dry season because they have a wet and a dry season. So I'm gonna tell you those dates right now. I have them written down, so give me 1 second. The dry season should be December to March and June to August. So I would recommend visiting either December to March or June to August, around those times, because it won't be as rainy. You can spend so much time outside and enjoy the nice weather. I was there the month of February, and that was, like I said, the most perfect weather you could literally experience. So I definitely recommend like one of those months that I just listed. But let me also say the wet season for you guys. So the wet season will be April, May, and in September to November, I believe so. So I mean, I'm sure it's nice whenever you go. I just recommend visiting in the dry season. I had a great time. Oh, I just love nice weather. I was glowing, absolutely glowing. I don't think I wore makeup once while I was there, and my skin, I feel like, has never looked better. My gosh, I miss it so much. Oh my gosh, it's so nice. Just like a range of temperature for you guys to kind of like understand what I'm saying. While I was there, it ranged from like high 60s to like the 80s, maybe like mid 80s. Oh, just so nice. But then you get like a breeze going a little bit. Hey Alexa, stop. Yeah, you got a little breeze going. Oh, it just feels so nice. I love nice weather. And then I would say the hottest time of the day there was around 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's like a pretty big range, but it'd be hot at some points. But I usually would be in my Spanish classes during that time anyways, because I had Spanish class from 9 to 1, and then I would head home after. So I really wasn't out that much during the hot times of the day unless it was the weekend. And then I'm like, wow, it is kind of hot outside, but it still felt just so nice. And like, reminder, I'm coming from Chicago. So going from Chicago, where we were getting like -degree weather, and I'm going to like mid 70s. Oh, I was in heaven. It was so nice. Also, if you don't know what outfits to pack for the certain weather, I have a packing video on my YouTube channel specifically for Medellín, Colombia. So go check that out if you don't really know what to pack or what to wear, or if you think it'll be too hot, it'll be too cold. Maybe I'm hyping myself up a little too much, but I'm a pretty good packer, I would say. And everything that I packed for Medellín was absolutely perfect. So if you want to see what I packed, just go check out that video, or once again, just leave some comments down below and I'll do my best to answer them for you guys. Now I'm just going to share some extra tips that I have that didn't really fit into a certain category of all the videos I've been doing. So my first tip is to copy people. I do this every time I travel anywhere because you kind of blend in more with the locals and you won't stick out as much. I mean, if I'm going to go to Sweden, I'm going to stick out, you know, but being in Colombia, I don't think people really knew that was from the US. So yeah, I would always copy people for like their mannerisms, their actions, how they acted like on the street. If you see everyone, like all of the locals doing the same action, it's probably in your best interest to copy it. So I used this example in my last video about what to expect in Medellín, my transportation section. So when I was in Spain and I had my backpack with me and I'd be going to work, everyone would keep their backpacks, you know, either on the ground in between their legs, or they would have it on their lap and they would hold it. So the first time I took the metro in Medellín, I put my backpack on the ground because that's what I was used to in Spain. And then I noticed that no one had their backpacks on the ground. So I quickly picked that backpack back up, and I was like, probably shouldn't be doing that because no one else around here is doing that. So I picked my backpack up, and I saw that people either had their backpack like in front of them, like they had the straps on the front, or they would have their backpack or their bag on the side, either holding the placement where the zippers would be, the pockets, kind of like wherever the opening would be of the backpack. That's the example I always like to use, is for the bag situation. Yeah, just copy the locals for what they do, kind of how they act, and I don't think that's a bad thing to do. Just don't be like disrespectful in any type of way. If you're kind of copy someone's actions, like I kind of do it in like a learning way, copy the locals, and do that for all of your trips that you go on, because it's helped me out in a lot of situations. This next tip comes with like a little bit of an embarrassing story. So the grocery stores in Colombia, first of all, the grocery stores are crazy there. Like, they're like Costco, if you know what a Costco is, or like a Sam's Club. Like, they're huge grocery stores, but then some of them have like food courts, froyo, a whole restaurant in it, inflatables. There's a bouncy house in one of them. I'm like, this is like an amusement park. Like, this is fun. I could spend my whole day here at the grocery store. I love grocery stores. I love visiting new grocery stores and just like walking around, and those are crazy. My favorite grocery store there was Jumbo. Stellar. But let me tell you about a Jumbo experience, because it's so embarrassing. So when you're going to one of these really big grocery stores, they need to see your receipt and they need to stamp it out. I didn't know that. Okay, so I'm walking out and I'm going through the food court area, and there's so many people. I thought that this guy was trying to get me to sign up for something. He wasn't. He needed to look at my receipt to make sure I wasn't stealing anything. So I start, I just keep walking, and then I see him follow me, and I'm like, why is this man following me? Like, I don't want to sign up for anything. I'm sorry, I have to go. And then he starts kind of running. So then I start running, because I'm like, there's a man running after me. What would you do? Man or the bear? So this man is like chasing me in this food court, and I'm like, what could he want? And he goes, tu bolsita. And I go, oh, I'm so dumb. He needs to look inside of my bag. Like, tu bolsita, like your bag. And I go, oh, lo siento, no entiendo. And so I take my bag out and I show it to him. So he stops me once I finally understand what he says. He takes my receipt out, but the receipt that he's looking at is from the bakery section, because I bought some croissants earlier before I did my other grocery shopping. So he's looking at that, and then he looks at the rest of my bag, and he's like, oh, you're stealing. And I'm like, no, I'm not stealing. And I was freaking out, but I didn't know what to do. So I'm like digging through the bag, and I go, mira. I'm like, look, like I have the right receipt. And this man gave me the worst death glare I've ever been given in my life. Like, he was so pissed. And you know what? I probably gave him a fun story to tell to his friends and his family. So you're welcome. Dumb American. God bless me. But make sure, if you're going to one of these huge supermarkets, remember that they need to look into your bag, stamp your receipt, whatever it is. Don't just run out of there, because that's what I almost did. Something bad could have happened. I was so nervous. My God, I felt so dumb. I didn't know any of that, because the other grocery stores that I would go to near my Airbnb, they didn't check your bag or your receipt. So, I was like, why is this man trying to check my bag and my receipt? But these grocery stores are like, they're so huge. There's appliances. Like I said, there's a food court, there's a restaurant, there's inflatables. There's so much that they probably have to check just to make sure that you aren't stealing anything, because you could buy everything and anything you'd want in these grocery stores. Learn from me, because that was probably my most embarrassing moment there. I definitely cried about it after. I like laughed, but I also like my heart was just racing, because I thought that man was chasing me, and I'm like, no one's helping me. The walk of shame to walk out of there after that man just chased me because I didn't show him my receipt. I felt like everyone was just like staring and glaring at me. Like, when you have those like nightmares or those like really bad dreams and everyone's just staring at you, that was me in that grocery store. So learn from my experience. Don't be dumb. That's it for that tip. I'm gonna finish this video. This next tip I'm gonna talk about very briefly, because I didn't experience this. If you're visiting outside of Medellin, like other cities in Colombia, or going on jungle excursions or just different excursions, just not in the main city of Medellin, make sure you know what vaccinations you need to get before going. Because I thought I needed to get a certain vaccination before I visited Medellin, and I did like a little bit more research, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to be going on any like outside excursions of the city, so I should be fine without getting a vaccination. If you're from the United States, check the US Travel Advisory website, and they will tell you all the things you need to have up to date to be visiting. Like I said, I was fine, but just make sure to know what vaccinations you need to get, what shots, and just make sure that you're all up to date with those before you get rejected for the whole trip that you have planned out, because that would suck. And this is my last tip for the video, for this little series, is to be respectful. Be respectful of the locals, be respectful of their city, be respectful at the bars, don't act too drunk, don't be a freaking problem. Don't be a problem, okay? Don't be a flashy, annoying tourist. Please don't. There's a huge gentrification problem in Medellin. I think in Colombia as a whole, but Medellin is a huge place for these digital nomad people to move to and to live, because everyone's like, oh, it's so cheap. You don't have to pay taxes. You don't have to do this. Yeah, but you're raising the prices for the locals that have been there forever. Before I even went to Medellin, I was so nervous that I was going to be one of the people that adds to the gentrification problem. Not that I would be intentionally trying to, but I just didn't know what was right and what was wrong to do. And last year in Spain, I had a Colombian roommate, and she's actually from Bogota, but she had a lot of friends in Medellin, and I asked her a lot of questions about the gentrification problems there. And she was like, honestly, just make sure you're buying locally, you're using cash when you can for like family and locally owned restaurants. Don't just eat at the upscale restaurants. Just try to be supportive of just kind of local spots there, and don't be the person, you know, bragging online about how cheap everything is. Like, I always try to use the term that it's affordable, and I always say it's affordable for me because I'm from the US and our dollar is stronger and stuff like that. I don't like to brag about how cheap Colombia is, how cheap Medellin is, because it's not cheap for everyone. It's not cheap for all the locals there, but you know, I don't know, just make sure you're not being a part of the problem. And I'm not saying to go out of your way to be part of the solution, because that's a bigger issue within itself, but just try to be respectful of everything and just really do your research before you're going. Like I said, try to branch out to more people than just people from your own country. Try to get to know the locals there. Like I said, they're extremely nice and friendly people. Try to support family and local owned businesses. Go to street vendors a lot. The tours that you book with, make sure it's a local tour company and not a company from the US that are just making profits off of it. The first tour that I took was a history tour of downtown Medellin, and I went with Real City Tours, and my tour guide was explaining that there are more companies coming in from other countries and they're doing their own tours, but you know, it's taking away from the local people that actually live through these experiences, that have lived there their whole lives, and they want to make a living out of this, and they're losing customers to other companies that aren't even from Colombia in general, you know? So just make sure to do your research, make sure you're supporting people as much as you can, make sure you're being respectful towards everyone there, because it is their home, it is not yours, so you are a guest in their country, so you need to act like it. So yeah, those are all of my tips that I have for you guys. Like I said, definitely go see the other two videos that I posted if you want to know about safety tips, money, transportation, just some other advice that I have for you guys. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed what to know before visiting Medellín, Colombia. I hope my tips and my advice will help you guys in the future for your trips there, or just things to know. And once again, these videos are specifically for people that are traveling there, not a long-term stay, because then your experience will be very, very different from mine. I mean, I wouldn't know, but like, that's just what I'm guessing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video here, and I said this in my last two videos, but just make sure you're doing research, not just from my videos, but from other creators on YouTube, or reading blog posts and articles, and just get opinions and different perspectives from other people, because everyone's experience is going to differ from each other. So just make sure you're learning from all different people's experiences, because maybe some things that work for me will work for you, or vice versa. I won't just read one article on safety tips and be like, okay, I'm good to go. Like, no, I'm reading tons of articles and tons of blog posts, and I'm reaching out to people on YouTube, on Instagram, I'm commenting on stuff. I'm trying to prepare myself as best as I can, so when I'm in that new city or that new country, I'm as comfortable that I can be based on how much I prepared for myself. So just make sure that you guys are also doing the same. But that is all that I have for you guys for today. And also just to mention, I will be doing a review on the Spanish school that I went to. Those videos will be in like a month or so. I want to get my normal videos out there going a little bit. I am going on another trip next week. I am going on another trip next week for my friend's bachelorette party. So I'll have a travel video for that coming up. I'm always going to try to get some travel content to you guys. You know, it's a lot harder not living in Europe, because when I lived in Europe, I'd be traveling at least once a month probably to different cities in Spain, or to just different countries in Europe in general. But now that I'm in the US, you know, it's a little bit harder for me to travel, but I will be making this a career eventually, even if it's just a little part-time career for me. And if not, I will spend all my money on traveling, and I really don't care. So yes, I hope these travel tips and these safety tips and all my travel advice for Medellín Colombia is extremely helpful for you guys. And definitely check out my Malia and Medellín parentheses Colombia series I have in a playlist on my YouTube channel. And definitely check out my other what to know before visiting Colombia videos. But that is all I have for you guys today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.